Okay, we're on Mikvaot, Perek, Bet, Mishnah Yud. 10th Mishnah, last Mishnah in the second chapter of Masechet Mikvaot. So we now think about mikvah. It's beautiful, it's nice, it's got tiling and paneling, but it wasn't always like that. Very often women went in the natural waters, or men too. But now what happens if we have a mikvah water? Sheyesh bo arba'im sa. It has 40 sa. Remember the minimum 40 sa, but it has mayim v'tit. Most of it's water, at least, I guess, a bunch of it's water, but a bunch is mud. And remember we said mud counts for the 40 sa'ah, because it's got water in it. Okay, so now, can I dunk in the mikvah in that case? Rabbi Lezer Omer, says Rabbi Lezer, matbilim b'mayim ve'en matbilim b'tit. You can do the tvila, but only if you're in the water part. You can't do tvila if you're in the tit, if you're in the mud. Rabbi Yeshua Omer, Rabbi Yeshua says, b'mayim b'tit. You can dunk in the mikvah in the water, and in the tit, in the mud. But be'ezet tit matbilim, but that's only what kind of mud? Betit shamayim tzafim al gabav. Rabbi Yeshua says that's in mud where the water is floating above it. Not totally. If it's all mixed together, it's muddy water. I think he said that'd be water. We're going to see in a second what tit we're talking about, but it's water that the mayim is floating above, and I'll explain why in a second. So here, Rabbi Yeshua says you could do it in water. Even to get to 40 sa'ah, your feet have to be in all this is 40 sa'ah, even though your feet are stuck in the mud. Well, I don't think it's so gross. It's whatever. Well, I guess you can think it's gross. It doesn't matter. Why is that? So the Bartanura explains. Okay, even afilu raglav shakot b'tit. If your feet are stuck in the mud, matbilin the Rabbi Yoshua says you can do that. Why? The water comes first. Meaning when this guy gets in the water, he gets feet in the water, and then he gets in the mud. It's meaning his feet already got wet. They're in the tvila. Rabbi Lezer doesn't agree. He doesn't agree that the feet, as long as your feet got wet first, you're okay. But avalim hayam matbil kli bekatan. If you're being matbil, if you're tovel, a small vessel, but mayim matzafim magabatin, the water that's floating above, baha moder Rabbi Lezer ed alta lo tvila. Rabbi Lezer says that counts. Meaning, and you have a picture here. Okay, you can do. Rabbi Lezer says you can do it in the water. That's fine. Even Rabbi Lezer would agree to that because the whole thing does count for 40 sa'ah. You can have 40 sa'ah mud plus water as long as you're not doing the actual tvila in the water. Now, others say, interestingly, this is Bartanura's explanation. That's what it means. Rabbi Shua says mayim and tit. Others say no. Others say you can either do the tvila in the mud itself as long as you squish it down into the mud. That's okay. But that's not the exposition of the Bartanura. Says the Mishnah, but hayu amayim mitzad echad. If the water is to one side, and then the mud is to another side, moder Rabbi Yoshua, as even Rabbi Yeshua would say, shemat belim b'mayim ve'en mat belim b'tit. Okay, that you do tefillah in the water and you don't do tefillah in the mud. I think we have a picture of that as well. Yeah, here. If the water is on one side and the mud is on the side, do it in the water. Like, don't do it in the mud. Mishnah continues. Be'ezet tit amru. What kind of tit? What kind of mud are we talking about? Hard mud, soft mud? So it's a machloket about the level of mud. And we're going to see the Kanti explains, we're going to go from softest mud, to hardest mud. Because you got to know your mud gradations. So what kind of tit are we talking about? Mud, betit sha'kaneh yored me'ilav. It's mud that if you stick the reed in, the measuring, they would have a measuring reed, you can see in this picture, to measure height of how deep the water is, it yored me'ilav, it would fall. So the Bartanura says it means it falls this way. Others say it would sink in. All right, that's level number one. Divrei Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda Omer says Rabbi Yehuda makom she'en knei amida omed. No, it's got to be mud. Not that it stands on its own, that it falls on its own, but it can't stand properly. I think I have a picture of that. Here, it can't stand properly. Yored me'ilav, you stick it in, and it doesn't stand. Rather, it leans over. Not that it falls, but it can't stand up tight. That's number two. That's Rabbi Yehuda. Abba Elazar ben Dolai Omer. You don't really see that name a lot. Abba Elazar ben Dolai, name of Tana. Makom sham mishkolet yored. Mishkolet is a plumb bob that they would use in order to drop and make sure that something is straight down. You do that when you're in construction. Mishkolet from mishkal, from weight. So, but it was very heavy, and obviously if you stuck in the mud, it would go down. This is the Bartanura saying, if you stuck that in the mud, it would sink into the mud. That's the position. Again, we're just doing it according to the Bartanura. There are other opinions. Rabbi Eliezer says, "Hayored bipi chavit." Mud that enters into the mouth of the jug. Pia chavit. Is it on this one? No, it's the next one. Yored b'pia chavit. You have a jug, and it's another level of thickness of mud. So there's a little that's thicker. That's another thickness of mud. You can do it. You can do this at home. You can bring out all your symbols of how thick is the mud. Rabbi Shimon says, no, even thicker. Hanichnas b'shvoferet alut nod. It can be even thick enough that you can get it into the shvoferet. The shvoferet is the reed that was the mouthpiece for your node, was the water carrier. That's the nichnas. So if you get mud in there, it seems to me this should be thinner. This should be thicker than that, but apparently not. I don't really know, because the size of the shvoferet node was 2 fingers, that you could be able to move 2 fingers in it. And finally, the last position is Rabbi Elazar bar Tzadok Omer says, Rabbi Elazar bar Tzadok hanimdad belog, mud that's so thick that you could measure it in a log jug. You could just pack it in there, I guess. Even that mud is not thick enough. Is okay. Is viscous enough. Is this the right word? Liquidy enough. I don't know what the right word is. That you're allowed to do tevilah in a mikvah with that thickness of mud. We'll stop here. Dedicate our learning to the memory of my father, Rav Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman. Make it a great day.